Good morning. Welcome everybody to the 2025 Worcester Arts Festival. My name's Mark. If you have any questions, you can come find me. I'll try to help you out. We're going to have some remarks in a little while. We decided to hold those off until the crowd settles in, so we are ready to go with our first presenter this morning. That is Joe Hoansky, who's going to read us some poetry today, and his crowning achievement in life is getting married to Caitlin Hoansky. Here we have Joe.
Okay, I'm going to set the tone and read some poems. Sorry. Well, the day is coming and the time is nigh for trouble to cast its darkened skies on you, me, myself, and I. The field of trouble will yield only chaff and the mocking echoes of the raven's laugh as you lean on your bent shepherd's staff. Wolves will torment your meager flock, and for the rest of your days, you'll be ruthlessly mocked by the absurd ticking of the meaningless clock. For in the dimension of trouble, time has no meaning. There is no line between nightmares and dreaming when into the void your soul is screaming. A toll will be paid, but its purpose not named. Into your grave you'll be laid and your soul will be claimed. Prayers will be prayed, but what won't be tamed is the ruthless tide of trouble. So what will future history tell of our tale? Will mothers' answers to their children fail when asked, why did they perish, and trouble prevail? Their ignorance knew no bounds, and when they heard the baying of the hounds, they fell behind by leaps and bounds, and now all that's left is the sights and the sounds of their ruins, and the wind howling through them. For when entire lives are lived in a storm's peaceful eye, perspective is lost on the where and the why of the direction of the winds of trouble. Okay, this next one is a happy one, don't worry. My whole life I've taken from me. I took from the land, the air, and I took from the sea. But how long can I hold it? And does anyone care? And how long till it goes back to the land, the sea, and the air? Whatever your station, whatever your throne, you'll be giving a gift of your flesh and your bone. A gift for the vulture, a gift for the crow, a gift for the worms, and a place for the grass to grow. So wrap your gift up all pretty, and get out your ribbons and bows, and don't go making no enemies of the vultures and crows. Okay, here's another one about death and stuff. I wanted to fly, but I just had to fall. Turns out that they're one and the same if you close your eyes and at the end of it all, pretend that it's all a game. I remember I beheld her face all forlorn, but her beauty remained in the eye of the storm, and the first thing I told her when we were alone was this world is not my home. Now she thinks back when she hears sparrows sing is something that I'll never know. But one thing I'm sure of is every spring she'll have seeds of sorrow to sow, 'cause she couldn't accept the truth as it's plain, though she knew it deep down in her bones. And living a lie is a journey of pain when this world is not your home. You may treasure and protect with greed and with strife, but when the other side is within your reach, all of the things you cling to in this life, you'll drop like a stone you picked up on the beach. Well, many young folk have suffered quite grand going up all them hills with a stone, but oh how it'd provoke if they'd understand this world is not their home. The day will come when I'm torn asunder. The day will come when there's nowhere to roam, but no matter if it comes like birdsong or like thunder, this world is not my home. I was told there's a light at the end of a tunnel, upon which aspiration depends, but when I got there, the light at the end of the tunnel was a candle burning at both ends. Now I just don't know where I'm to go or what it is I'm supposed to be, but I don't think it matters, because what I do know is this death will be the life of me. So lower me down with a handful of nothing, for that's what will become of my skin and my bones, and the song you can sing to the funeral drumming is this world, this world, this world is not my home. This next one is about the people who fled the Irish potato famine, and the boats that they took across the Atlantic were notorious for such deplorable conditions that they became nicknamed the coffin ships. So, if you live in America today, you might be descended from someone who rode a coffin ship, so maybe you should think about it more often. How many of our ancestors' bones lie in the silt at the bottom of the sea? When they met the water, did the swell in their hearts rival that of the waves? Some say to remember the dead by saying their names, but how could the living say an appellative crash on a rocky shore? How could we feeble living make the sound of a white crest upon which an albatross sits that is their name? Woe to those who will never know the glory of an ocean for a casket, we for whom a mere pine box must suffice. Oh, to know the timeless embrace of the waves, like those who as living skeletons rode the coffin ships from their emerald home to eternity. Would you rather be a weeper on the shore, or the inheritor of the grief of centuries, than to be among the glorious few who became the tide, so that we, who may never truly live, can only hope to barely die? I lost my head, but I found my wings, sifting through my pretty little things. And there among the dusty dreams, I found a trinket or two to give you. A pocket watch that won't tick anymore. I found it in my daddy's dresser drawer, and where he went, he won't keep no time. He never even used it when he was alive. A lock of hair from when I was 4. It sure isn't that color anymore. It's fine and golden as amber grain, just like my son's is today. A piece of wood from an old red barn hung on the wall with a nail and yarn and a handful of marbles and a skeleton key that just won't open nothing. We live our lives so proud and tall, like an ancient castle towers walls, and then one day the empire falls, leaving nothing but ivy-choked stones, that's all. So what's the purpose? Where shall we go? If you ask me, well, I don't know. If you're lucky, you'll find your wings, and maybe hold in your hand some pretty little things. Well, you say that you're lost and you want to be found, but where exactly are you trying to go? Overseas you've been tossed while you're homeward bound, but still you've got nothing to show. So what did you find in those foreign lands that you have brought back here today? Did you empty your mind, or fill up your hands, or did you just get lost on the way? The promise of gold and the siren's song have beckoned and led you astray, but have you ever been told that maybe you're wrong and you're wanting of going away? Has it ever occurred to your rambling mind and your dreams and your fascinations that at the end of the day, the only answer you'd find is the journey is the destination? Okay. All right. I have 2 more, and these next 2 I didn't write. I just like them, and I'm going to make you listen to them. While the wicked king of clubs awoke, it was to his queen he turned. His lips were laughing as they spoke. His eyes like bullets burned. The sun's upon a gambling day. The queen smiled low and blissfully. Let's make some wretched fool to pay. And plain it was she did agree. They sent their deuce down into diamonds to ford a heart and their trade a spade. And 3 kings with their legions come, and preparations soon were made. They voted Club the day's commander, give him an army, face and number, all but the outlaw jack of diamonds and the aces in the sky. They give their 7s first instructions, spirit me a game of stud, stakes unscarred by limitations between a man named Gold and a man named Mud. Now Club filled Gold with greedy vapors till his long green eyes did glow, and Mud was left with the sighs and the trembles, watching his hard-earned money go. Fletches fall on Gold like water, 10s they paired and paired again, but the aces only flew through heaven, and the diamond jack called no man friend. The Diamond Queen saw Mud's ordeal, began to think of her long-lost son, fell to her knees with the mother's mercy and prayed to the angels every one. The Diamond Queen, she prayed, and the Diamond Angel filled Mud's hole, and the wicked king of clubs himself fell face down in front of Gold. Now 3 kings come to club's command, but the angels from the sky did rise. 3 kings up on the streets of gold, and 3 fireballs on the muddy side. Now Club Queen heard her husband's call, but Lord, that queen of diamonds, joy when the outlaw in the heavenly hall turned out to be her wandering boy. Now Mud he checked, and Gold bet all. Mud he raised and gold did call, and that smile just melted off his face when Mud turned over that diamond ace. Now here's what this story's told. You'll feel like mud, you'll end up gold. You'll feel like lost, you'll end up found. So amigo, lay them raises down. Okay, I don't like to talk too much about current events because all current events are just history repeated, but I'm starting to get tired of some things. So this next one is how I feel about some current events, and this one is by a criminally underrated English guy named Martin Walkyier. Free citizens of planet Earth, the leptons in some base equation, bound by swaddling chains from birth unto travail and assentation, given what they're taught to crave, denied the truth they sorely need, shown the future new and brave, frog marched towards it at full speed. So if there's anyone else out there, disillusioned just like me, it's time we tried to turn the tide with an overwhelming minority. The masses are numb, their ethics are awry, nothing's as dumb as the vox populi. So if there's anyone else out there aiming sawn-off philosophy, let's all unite and make things right with an overwhelming minority. No seed of hope nor ray of light, scant succor from the blighted epoch. Rise like Socrates and fight and take Kate's chalice laced with hemlock. Mankind's retrograde ascent, we've waged it all on unseen winnings. Evolution's youth's misspent, it's time we forged bold new beginnings. So if there's anyone else out there, disillusioned just like me, it's time we tried to turn the tide with an overwhelming minority. Bolt from the herd, bleeding like sheep, hang for your words, don't perish asleep now. If there's anyone else out there aiming sawn-off philosophy, let's all unite and make things right with an overwhelming minority. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Next up, we have Kathy Barrows, who has lived in Worcester for 40 years. Her crowning accomplishment is being married for what now I make it sound like this is a task. Her proudest achievement is being married to Steve Barrows for 47 years. She cautions that they did start on a month-to-month basis. I don't know if that was the wedding or the dating part, but anyhow.
The wedding.
Okay. Very good. So 40 years, and I gotta draw that. She's just begun a creative writing class.
Yeah.
A new passion for her, and so she's going to come up and share some of her writings.
Good morning. Can you hear me? Yeah. This is an essay I call Spring on the Blue Dot. On Valentine's Day in 1990, the space probe Voyager took a picture of our solar system. From 4 billion miles away, Earth appeared as a pale blue dot in the iconic photo. Earth, our precious planet, rotates on its axis at over 1,000 miles per hour, travels around the sun at 67,000 miles per hour, covering more than 1.6 million miles per year. At the same time, our sun orbits around the Milky Way at more than 500,000 miles per hour, and the Milky Way moves through the universe at 1.3 million miles per hour. The insignificant blue dot careening through the universe is our home, where on a certain road in Worcester, spring is shugging its winter blanket. Snowbanks are dissolving into slush, transforming the road into a terrain park, where jarring potholes combined with the pull of the mud rattle our teeth, jiggle this loose skin under our necks as we drive along, leaving a trail of car molecules in the slop. Along the slick road, low alders crackle to life with the returning red-winged blackbirds. The male's velvet red-shoulder epaulets flash in the naked branches as they croak out their "O-Kali" call, while the plain brown feathered females answer with staccato chits. Under the bridge, the falls roar, the river now swollen with snowmelt. River otters, sleek and glistening, float and playfully dive into the roiling foam. A toy plastic blue duck, an escapee from last year's 4th of July duck races, is bobbing in the swelling stream, recently released from its frozen winter harbor. The sugar house further up the road and in the woods is puffing steam-laden smoke, and we lick our lips in anticipation of the amber sweetness that our neighbors will soon share with us. We have lived on this road for nearly 40 years. It's this year to be exact, and every mud season we discuss moving to a paved road. We walk our gravel road nearly every day with the exception of winter, when we turn towards the woods for skiing and snowshoeing. We know almost all of our neighbors, and every year we decide to stay another year. We have become comfortably resilient, relying on our neighbors who pull our cars out of the mud when needed. Their kindness. We all need kindness right now, especially now, as our country feels off kilter and spinning out of control. Some mornings, when I listen to the radio, I feel an episode of vertigo coming on. That false sense that my surroundings are actually moving and spinning. And yes, our pale blue dot is moving in many directions at the same time through the universe. But I know that motion is not what is making me ill. It is the rising tide of cruelty, an ugly vortex that is spinning me. The prevailing politics of cruelty and vengeance, the chaos causing suffering and harm. And then I turn off the radio and let my thoughts return to my road, where from 4 billion miles away, I imagine kindness shining through from our little neighborhood on the blue dot. That's that. This one's called Jimmy Buffett and the Owls. Last winter when I was out skiing in the high meadow, I discovered an imprint of a raptor's large wingspan and its tail in the fluffy new snow. The markings looked like a snow angel made by a wee child. I stopped to study the delicate detail of each feather printed in the snow, taking in the breadth of the span and the evidence of the muscular sweep of the swooping flight that preceded the bird's swift touchdown. A mouse, outdoing ordinary mouse things, had left tiny tracks in the snow too, vining and curling a filigree path that ended at the edge of the massive bird imprint. No bright red blood droplets in the snow, but I could tell that life had been plucked from the snow, and it was not an angel that was carrying this life away. Thinking about this end of life brings me back to this morning's conversation with my mother, who lives with assistants at a local care residence. My mother was saddened by the recent death of a resident in room number 3. It seems after my mother had lived in this facility for 17 months, every resident who ever lived in room number 3 had died. I really don't know the actual death toll, but I know that I spoke with each of these residents, and at some point, while visiting my mom, who lived across the hall in room number 4. It seems that no one goes through door number 3 and gets out of there alive. And thinking about door number 3 caused me to think, caused an annoying earworm to bloom in my brain, over and over playing in my mind. It was Jimmy Buffett's 1974 spoof in daytime about my whole life lies waiting behind door number 3. And the song makes fun of the risk of choosing door number 3. In the song, his whole world lies waiting behind door number 3. But at my mother's residence, something else is waiting behind door number 3. While my mom and I have seen hospice staff in that room, heard the dying residents moaning and uttering pleas, lingering for days, hoping maybe to make a deal, make a different choice before settling into room number 3. Maybe they passed on what Jay at the table had on the table for a deal, or Monty Hall was trying to, I'm sorry, I'm tired. Monty Hall was trying to make, or perhaps they'd shunned the box that Carol Merrill was pointing to. on the floor before they entered the room. I won't ever know, but they took a risk to see what was behind door number 3. There might have been a 1977 Ford LTD idling on the shoulder of the highway to heaven, or Sharon, the ferryman readying the boat to cross to the River Styx, or a secret passage to slip through the Bardo. Or maybe they were actually trying to buy the stairway to heaven. I don't really know. Because just like the raptor and mouse prints in the snow yesterday, I wasn't there to witness the actual deaths. Only the vigorous room cleaning, disinfecting, and furniture and mattress moving afterwards told me that someone in room number 3 had died. And speaking of life and death, every year when I have to renew my mother's long-term care Medicaid, I have to refer to the Social Security actuarial life expectancy table to determine how much of her IRA to distribute. This year, as an 86-year-old woman, her life expectancy is 6.26 years. I never speak of those details. I certainly never mention that the government only expects her to live 6.26 years. And this year, when I referred to the renewal table, I didn't peek to see how much longer the government expects me, a 67-year-old woman, to live. I do hope, though, that in my life story, that when death comes for me, that it's in a flurry of swirling snow and feathers, me unaware, just doing my ordinary life things as I continue to joyously journey along with my day. As for my mother, I hope that her death will be as simple and gentle as turning out the light switch in room number 4 after I've given her a sweet parting kiss because she's told me that it's her time. That's that. I'm going to break it up with somewhere in here I have poems. So I guess I don't. Sorry, after the break. Yes, I do. I have 2 little poems I would like to share with you. I like to paddle on my paddleboard at Curtis Pond, so this inspired this poem. What if I didn't live in a no-wake zone, but was instead luminous and suddenly leapt over the house, swallowed a star, and painted the sky red, swung from lover to lover like a trapeze artist just for the thrill of the captain release, ricocheting from continent to continent, bouncing from language to language. Then I wouldn't know the little puffs of air as he falls asleep each night, reaching for my hand. Creases of my palms stained with traces of garden soil from the little furrows I made to plant the carrots that we will savor later this fall. Tiny bits of him mixed in the dirt under my nails. That's it. This, when Joe thinks about death, this is what I think about. It's my advance directive. When my memory begins to fail and the pieces of my fading life roll across the lake as fog, the once shimmering shards falling into hazy dullness, the familiar gentle breeze murmuring in my ears, dissolving to a confusing crackle of static and noise. Words so far from shore that I call my shoes foot hiders now. Let the sound of your voice be a carillon, whose sweet bells call me home. I don't know where my timekeeper is, but I have one last story about Elmore. Do I have time?
I believe you do.
This is called Open Swim. 30 years ago, a tiny ad in the Washington World announced an open swim at Lake Elmore. Well, isn't that nice, I thought. A chance to swim from the boat launch to the beach and the community of other swimmers. 1.3 miles of camaraderie, possibly chatting between strokes on our backs, watching the clouds drift, resting after the effort of a vigorous crawl stroke. Well, my family and I had hiked the summit of Elmore and ridden our bikes the 26 miles from our home to the beach and back, so this swim would complete our Elmore trifecta. We woke to one of those August mornings signaling autumn. Frost coated the windshield, and I used my credit card to clear a porthole. The night before, we tied the canoe to the roof of the car, as the ad recommended, that a boat accompany individual swimmers for the open swim. Twin 8-year-olds, their paddling vests, paddles, snacks, drinks, and a goofy golden retriever took up half the station wagon. Arriving at the boat launch, I found a small crowd gathered around a sign-in table. I was wearing a veritable laundry basket of clothing, my wool cap, flannel shirt, down vest, sweats, cozy wool felt clogs, as I stepped to the table to register while my family launched the canoe. I rejoined my family boatside carrying my bright yellow bathing cap with a black number printed on it. In stereo, my sons asked, "What's that for?" I answered through chattering teeth, "To keep all the swimmers safe, I think." Struggling to don the dry cap over my dry hair, a shrill whistle blown by a uniformed officer standing on the bow of a Vermont State Police motorboat, out of place among all the canoes, summoned all the swimmers to the shoreline. Shouting followed the whistle. "On your marks, get set," and then bang, a gun was fired and all the swimmers ran into the shallow water, thrashing for position. That's when I found out that I was in an open water swim race and not an idyllic open water swim for the joy of swimming. This was serious. So many sleek swimmers tucked into tight, thick wetsuits, shoulder muscles bulging under the neoprene. Me in my regular old bathing suit, hair sprouting from under my cap, slight shoulders prickled with goosebumps, gasping with the shock of the water temperature, and the realization that I was in over my head with my husband, sons, and dog all watching. 1.3 miles of steely white-capped water lie ahead of me. I put my head down and I swam. The canoe, filled with my loving family, followed me on my right side. I could see them, every breath as I turned my head to the right. Halfway across the lake, my husband asked if I was okay. Well, he was concerned about my gray pallor and thought I should get into the boat. Nope. I was not going to quit, not in front of my kids. I did not want them to think of me as a quitter. I pressed on even though I could barely move my lips to the words. I could not form the words that I wanted to finish the swim. Well, when I reached the beach, I was disoriented. I could barely control my shivering muscles, but I made it to the lodge where a roaring fire filled the hearth. I hugged those rocks in the fireplace to extract as much heat as possible. Forgetting about me, my sons headed to the hot cocoa table and loaded up with treats. It never even occurred to them that I would have quit. And when my senses returned as my body warmed, I heard so many voices discussing the swim. "Wow, that was so much worse than my last swim at Magog," one swimmer commented. These were the same swimmers in the wetsuits that I had noticed in the chaos after the gun was fired at the start of the race. My family never knew that I doubted that I could finish that swim, and I'm still not quite sure how I did. I think that pride, and perhaps my stubbornness, might have been a little bit stronger than their neoprene suits.
Thank you, Kathy. And David Book is now going to deliver our opening remarks.
Thank you. Good morning. 4 years ago, this was an idea that was hatched by the Worcester Historical Society, and it is a joy, it is a blessing to see how it has grown and to understand now that it is a tradition here in Worcester, Vermont. It is indeed a wonderful opportunity to really put in the spotlight our artists and their community. So we hope that you have already sensed the excitement and the thrill of being a part of Worcester's Art Festival. There are those that need to be thanked. We have a steering committee that have worked hard, and they include Julia Hewitt, Caitlin Hawansky, Katie O'Rourke, Mark Powell, Steve and Kathy Barrows, Jim and Colleen Shea, and Kit Williams. Give them a hand if you would, please. They've worked hard, put in a lot of hours, and I think the result is the best yet.
And they always drive within the line.
Yes, always, always. We also want to thank our local sponsors, Duffy Gardner Landscape, Black Crow Coffee. Yes, Black Crow Coffee, even though they're not in operation, they donated to the cause. We're grateful. Garden Mats, corporate sponsors, B&J Foundation, Ben & Jerry's, of course, Washington Electric Co-op, the Community Bank, Vermont Arts Council with a substantial grant. A couple announcements. Remember that the Worcester Arts Festival charges no vendor, exhibitor, or admission fee. Donations and a few corporate and local sponsors enable us to pay the bill. So what you're experiencing today cost about $3,500, so you know that. Please help us assure a fourth WAF by placing a donation in the appropriate box. Don't forget, please, to vote for the arts mark the 250th anniversary of the United States of America. The projects are exhibited over here on my left, outside the tent. The recipient of a $500 award based on your votes will be made about 4:30 this afternoon. So please vote and return it to the welcome tent. The silent auction will end at 5 p.m. We request that if you are the high bidder, please pick up your item between 5 and 6 today, or Sunday afternoon, tomorrow afternoon, between 1 and 3. Lots of great things over there, lots of neat stuff. So thank you very much for coming. Enjoy the day.
You tell me when you're ready and I'll announce you. Okay, our next presenter is Violet Will Martin. She moved to, got that? Millarton, no M in there, thank you. I think I spelled, okay. Violet moved to Worcester 2 years ago. She's working in fiber arts and visual arts, and she has a table with some wonderful material over there if you want to check it out. Violet is also interested in sound healing and has done some interesting things with that. A year ago, she started working with her gong, and she's going to tell us about that and demonstrate its healing qualities.
So I offer regular private and public sound baths, and this is a traditional Chinese gong called a solar flare gong.
But could you explain to me the rings and what the material is and how that affects? It clearly seems to affect the sound, right?
It does.
You're going between the rings often. Yeah. So
Yeah. So
tell us more about that.
yes, the gong is made of a singular piece of brass that's hammered out into this parabolic shape. And so the different rings, where it's black, is the metal is a little bit thicker, and where it's gold, there's been a layer of metal laid away, and it creates more of a crashing sound on that. And the variegation between the two, it affects the whole sound. But yeah, that's the short answer.
Great. Any other questions? Anybody? So, just about it, are you offering services with your healing work? Or how?
Yeah, so I do private sound baths if you get in touch with me directly, and I also occasionally do public sound baths here at the Worcester Town Hall and also up in Craftsbury and Morrisville.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
That was wonderful.
I don't want to get too far ahead of my schedule here, so I'm going to have Bill hold off a few minutes. Anybody want to come up and tell a joke? Can you use more than 5? Can you go 20 minutes?
Always. That's my permission to riff.
I could always play music too, Mark, if you have like little windows and you could film.
Let's give it 5 minutes. We'll have Bill start a few minutes earlier. He's supposed to start at 5 after. We'll have him start right at 11. So literally 5 minutes. We'll just let the music play. Heather, I don't know a whole lot about you, so come on up and introduce yourself. This is Heather Pidgeot. She's lived in Worcester as long as I have, right? Like 20 something. She was born here. Okay, let's hear her some poetry.
We will start off with a poetry that I did about Worcester when our school asked us to do something about our hometown. Worcester, Vermont, born, bred, and raised, over 40 years, roamed her hills and mourned her graves. Doty Memorial, learned writing and math, explored Worcester Mountains, walked many paths. Childhood summers on the courts and fields, hours with friends till the hot sun yields. Then Minister Brook, to the dam we would go, just enough water, some would jump like a pro. Remembering back, we've had some big floods, spring bringing frost heaves, getting stuck in the mud. Our small town parade every 4th of July, ending with fireworks, illuminating the sky. Foundation, community, family, church, and friends. So many people gone, but I'm rooted to the end. This one's called Getting Easier. It should be getting easier, but some days are harder than others. Visiting a home, I think of you in the kitchen with some smart, pardon my French, ass greeting. Or seeing you sit in your chair, watching one of your shows. It might be getting easier, but certain times I'm caught off guard. We don't smoke, but now and then I smell cigarette smoke in the house and look outside, but no one's around, and I wonder if you're checking in. It's slowly getting easier, but some things bring you to mind. I see black Jeeps with gray fenders and think you'll be behind the wheel. At least now I see the truck with shadow on the side being driven again. Things are getting easier, but I'll never forget the impact you made. I'm really trying my best to be the person you raised me to be. Even if that includes swearing like a trucker far too often. That's for Dad.
Thank you, Heather. Thank you, Heather. David's going to give us a few updates.
Into every wonderful event and sunny day like today, there has to be a cloud or two. So we have a cloud to report, unfortunately. 2 of our 4 vendors had to withdraw at the last minute because of mechanical failure. The barbecue, Moe's Barbecue, he could not get his propane regulators to work, and so he's had to leave. And also Maharaji Spice, his truck broke down, and so he was unable to make it. We do have 2 vendors here. Indeed, they have some delectable and wonderful food. Doogie's will be providing you lunch, and Plum Lovely has some great baked goods. So please do go by and check it out. Also, please remember to vote for the Arts Mark, 250th anniversary of the USA. Projects are exhibited back here on my left, and 4 finalists were chosen last year, and they all came forth and did their projects, and they're very, very interesting, I think. So your votes will determine who will receive a $500 check this afternoon. So please go by, get a ballot at the welcome tent, and return it. Thank you.